The starship Horizon drifted silently through the inky blackness of space. Its sleek, silver hull gleamed under the light of distant stars. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen before her. A small blue-green planet loomed large, its surface partially obscured by swirling white clouds. "Scan complete, Captain," Lieutenant Raj Patel announced from his station. "The planet's atmosphere is breathable. No signs of advanced technology or civilization." Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Perfect. Prepare a landing party. We'll set down in that clearing near the equator." As the Horizon entered the planet's atmosphere, the ship shuddered slightly. Through the viewscreen, Sarah watched as the ground rushed up to meet them. Lush, alien forests stretched as far as the eye could see, broken only by winding rivers and jagged mountain ranges. The ship touched down with a gentle thud. Sarah led her team out of the airlock, breathing deeply as the hatch hissed open. The air was crisp and clean, with a faint floral scent that tickled her nose. "Fan out," she ordered. "Standard exploration protocol. Report anything unusual." The team spread out, their boots crunching on the soft, purple grass beneath their feet. Strange, bird-like creatures with iridescent wings flitted between the trees, their melodious calls echoing through the forest. Dr. Emily Wong, the team's xenobiologist, crouched down to examine a cluster of luminescent fungi. "Fascinating," she murmured, carefully taking a sample. "These could have incredible medicinal properties." Suddenly, a shout rang out from deeper in the forest. "Captain, over here, quick." Sarah sprinted towards the sound, her heart pounding. She burst into a small clearing and skidded to a halt, her eyes widening at the sight before her. A small alien child lay crumpled on the ground. Its skin was a pale blue, with delicate patterns swirling across its surface. 6 spindly limbs twitched weakly, and large, liquid eyes blinked up at them in confusion and pain. "Oh my God," Sarah breathed, dropping to her knees beside the alien. "Dr. Wong, get over here now." Emily rushed to their side, her medical scanner already whirring to life. "Multiple injuries," she reported grimly. "Internal bleeding, broken bones. It's a miracle it's still alive." The alien child let out a soft, keening cry that made Sarah's heart clench. Without hesitation, she scooped the small being into her arms. "We're taking it back to the ship," she declared. "Prep the medbay." As they hurried back to the Horizon, Sarah's mind raced. What had happened to this child? Where were its parents? And most importantly, who or what had hurt it so badly? The next few hours were a blur of activity. Dr. Wong worked tirelessly in the medbay, using a combination of human medical knowledge and educated guesses to treat their alien patient. The rest of the crew hovered anxiously, waiting for news. Finally, Emily emerged, looking exhausted but relieved. "It's stable," she announced. "The injuries were severe, but with some rest and care, it should make a full recovery." A cheer went up from the assembled crew. Sarah felt a weight lift from her shoulders, but her relief was tempered by a growing sense of unease. Something terrible had happened on this peaceful-looking planet, and she was determined to find out what. As if in answer to her thoughts, Lieutenant Patel's voice came over the ship's intercom. "Captain, you need to see this. We've detected an energy signature in orbit. It looks like the remnants of a battle." Sarah's blood ran cold. She strode quickly to the bridge, her mind whirling with possibilities. As she stared at the tactical display, her worst fears were confirmed. The space above the planet was littered with debris, the shattered remains of ships far more advanced than anything humanity had ever encountered. "What have we stumbled into?" she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. As if in answer, a soft beep came from the communications console. An incoming transmission, on a frequency they'd never encountered before. Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "Put it through," she ordered. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a stern-faced alien with metallic skin and glowing eyes. When it spoke, its voice was cold and imperious. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. You have one standard rotation to comply. Sarah's jaw clenched. Whatever was happening here, whatever cruelty had befallen that innocent child, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity had just been thrust onto a galactic stage, ready or not. And she, for one, had no intention of surrendering. The real question was, what would she do next? The soft hum of medical equipment filled the air as Captain Sarah Chen stood beside the alien child's bed. Its blue skin had regained some of its luster, and its breathing was steady. Dr. Emily Wong tapped at a nearby screen, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Its vital signs are improving," Emily said, a note of wonder in her voice. "The healing rate is remarkable. I've never seen anything like it." As if on cue, the alien's large eyes fluttered open. Sarah leaned in, her heart racing. "Hello," she said softly, trying to keep her voice calm and friendly. "You're safe now. Can you understand me?" To her surprise, a small voice echoed in her mind. "I understand. Where am I?" Sarah exchanged a shocked glance with Emily. "Telepathy," the doctor whispered, her eyes wide. Turning back to the alien child, Sarah smiled. "You're on our ship. We found you injured and brought you here to help. Can you tell us what happened?" The alien's eyes filled with a sadness that seemed too deep for its young face. Images began to flash through Sarah's mind. A beautiful city with spiraling crystal towers, happy families with children playing in parks, then suddenly, chaos. Massive ships descending from the sky, raining destruction. People running, screaming, being herded into transport vessels. The Galactic Council, the child's voice whispered in her head. They came without warning. Said our world was strategic, important, that we had no choice. Sarah felt a surge of anger. They attacked civilians. Children. More images flooded her mind. The child fleeing with its parents, a desperate chase through the forest, a hidden spacecraft. Mama and Papa. They put me in the ship, said to find help. But I crashed. Tears streamed down the alien's face, and Sarah found her own eyes watering in response. She gently took one of the child's hands in her own. "I'm so sorry," she said. "We'll do everything we can to help." Just then, Lieutenant Raj Patel's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, we've decrypted more of the transmission. You need to see this." Sarah squeezed the child's hand reassuringly before hurrying to the bridge. The main screen flickered to life, displaying a stern-faced alien with metallic skin, the same one from the earlier transmission. "Decree of the Galactic Council," the alien was saying, its voice cold and imperious. "All lesser species are hereby ordered to submit to relocation and labor assignment. Resistance will be met with immediate force. This is not a request. This is your new reality." The screen went dark, leaving a stunned silence on the bridge. Sarah's mind raced, connecting the dots between the child's story and this chilling proclamation. "My God," Raj whispered, "they're not just conquering. They're enslaving entire species." Sarah's jaw clenched. "And they expect us to just roll over and accept it." She turned to her communications officer. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command. Now." Within minutes, Sarah found herself facing a panel of grim-faced military and political leaders. She relayed everything they had learned. The attack on the alien world, the child's story, and the Galactic Council's ominous message. "This is far beyond anything we've prepared for," one general said, his voice heavy. "We're talking about a threat to our entire species." "Not just our species," Sarah countered. "To freedom throughout the galaxy. We can't stand by and let this happen." There was a long pause as the Earth leaders conferred among themselves. Finally, the president of the United Earth Alliance leaned forward, her eyes steely with determination. "Captain Chin," she said, "you and your crew have stumbled upon a situation that will define the future of humanity. We will not, submit to tyranny. Not for ourselves, and not for any other species facing this threat. She took a deep breath before continuing. As of this moment, Earth is at war with the Galactic Council. Captain, your mission is to gather allies, intel, and any advantages you can find. Humanity is about to announce its presence to the galaxy in a very big way. As the transmission ended, Sarah felt the weight of history settling on her shoulders. She turned to her crew, seeing a mix of fear and determination on their faces. "You heard the order," she said, her voice steady. "Let's show this Galactic Council that humanity isn't a lesser species to be trifled with. It's time to make some noise." As the Horizon's engines roared to life, Sarah cast one last look at the alien planet below. Somewhere down there, a civilization lay in ruins. But if they succeeded, it would not be in vain. The hunt for allies and justice had begun. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Every screen, from towering billboards in bustling cities to small tablets in remote villages, displayed the same shocking footage. The alien child's memories of destruction, the Galactic Council's threats, and humanity's bold declaration of war. In New York City, thousands gathered in Times Square, their faces a mix of fear and determination as they watched the broadcast. In a small town in Kenya, families huddled around community view screens, holding each other close. In the orbiting habitats of Luna Colony, workers paused their tasks, floating in stunned silence as they absorbed the magnitude of what was happening. Back on the horizon, Captain Sarah Chen stood before her assembled crew. The alien child, now able to move around with help, sat nearby, its large eyes darting nervously from face to face. "I won't sugarcoat this," Sarah said, her voice firm. "We're facing a threat unlike anything humanity has ever encountered. The Galactic Council has technology far beyond ours, and who knows how many species under their control. But we have something they don't." She paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "We have the righteous anger of a species that refuses to bow to tyranny. We have the compassion that drove us to save a child, even an alien one. And we have the ingenuity that took us from cave paintings to the stars in the blink of an eye." A cheer went up from the crew. Even the alien child seemed to perk up, sensing the shift in mood. On Earth, preparations were already underway. In a hardened bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Maria Valdez oversaw a flurry of activity. Holographic displays showed the rapid mobilization of Earth's combined military forces. "I want every mothballed ship reactivated," she barked. "Get me the head of R&D. We need to fast-track every experimental weapon and defense system we've got." Across the planet, factories shifted into overdrive. Assembly lines that once produced civilian goods now churned out components for starships and weaponry. Universities became hubs of frantic research, scientists working around the clock to unlock new technologies that might give humanity an edge. In orbit, the massive shipyards of Mars Colony blazed with activity. Half-finished hulls of colony ships were hastily retrofitted with armor plating and weapon mounts. Grizzled veterans of the inter-system conflicts found themselves pulled out of retirement, tasked with training a new generation of space-bound soldiers. But it wasn't just military preparations. In a bold move that surprised many, the United Earth Alliance reached out to every nation, every faction, even those long considered enemies or outcasts. In a secure video conference, President Amina Okafor addressed leaders from around the world. Her usually polished appearance was disheveled, evidence of sleepless nights, but her eyes burned with intensity. "We stand at the precipice," she said, "not just as nations, but as a species. Our petty conflicts, our old grudges, none of that matters now. Either we stand together, or we fall divided." To the shock of many, hands that had once been raised in threat against each other now clasped in alliance. Resources were pooled, technologies shared, and a unified global defense strategy began to take shape. But even as humanity rallied, questions and doubts lingered. In coffee shops and online forums, in government halls and family dinner tables, people grappled with the enormity of what they faced. How can we hope to win against an enemy that spans the galaxy? Some asked. What if we're just bringing destruction upon ourselves? Others worried. Yet for every voice of doubt, there were those who stood firm. Better to die on our feet than live on our knees became a common refrain. As the Horizon prepared for its next mission, a daring attempt to make contact with other species who might oppose the Galactic Council, Captain Sarah Chen received a transmission from Earth. It was a simple message, but one that brought tears to her eyes. To the crew of the Horizon, and to all who stand against tyranny, the hopes of humanity go with you. Show them what we're made of. Sarah looked out at the stars, feeling the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. She thought of the alien child, of shattered worlds and enslaved species, of the long odds they faced. But then she thought of Earth, of its beauty, its diversity, its indomitable spirit. And she knew, whatever came next, humanity would face it head-on. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The Sol system buzzed with activity like never before. Earth's orbital space, once merely dotted with satellites and small stations, now bristled with newly constructed defense platforms. Massive energy shields flickered to life, enveloping the planet in a protective cocoon. In a secret facility beneath the Gobi Desert, Dr. Yuki Tanaka hunched over a glowing holographic display. Her team of scientists worked feverishly around her, each focused on a different aspect of their groundbreaking project. Run the simulation again, Yuki ordered, her eyes never leaving the swirling data before her. A 3D model of a sleek spacecraft appeared, its hull shimmering with a strange oily sheen. Adaptive camouflage is holding at 98% efficiency, one of her assistants reported, but the power drain is still too high for sustained use. Yuki nodded, her mind racing. What if we integrate it with the new quantum power cells? The energy output should be. Her voice trailed off as she made rapid calculations in her head. A smile spread across her face. Yes, that could work. Let's make it happen, people. Meanwhile, on Mars, the dusty red landscape was transformed into a hive of military activity. Colonel James Bulldog Martinez strode across the tarmac of the newly expanded Ares Prime spaceport, his weathered face set in a permanent scowl. Before him stood rows of fresh-faced recruits, a mix of seasoned Martian colonists and eager volunteers from Earth. Their uniforms were crisp, their boots shiny, but their eyes held a mix of determination and fear. "Listen up, you lot," Martinez barked. "You think you know war because you've played some VR games or watched some vids. Well, forget all that. What we're facing out there is like nothing humanity has ever seen." He paced before them, his voice carrying across the Martian wind. "But let me tell you something. Those alien bastards have never seen anything like us either. We're humanity. We went from flinging rocks to walking on other planets in the blink of an eye. And now we're going to show the galaxy what we're made of." A cheer went up from the recruits, their earlier nervousness replaced by a burning resolve. Back on the horizon, Captain Sarah Chen pored over intelligence reports from the farthest reaches of known space. The alien child, now recovered enough to move freely, sat beside her, its telepathic abilities proving invaluable in deciphering alien communications. Another refugee ship detected in the Epsilon Eridani system. Sarah muttered, marking the location on a star chart. "That makes 5 this week. The Council's expansion is accelerating." The alien child, whom the crew had taken to calling Nova, sent a wave of sadness and anger through its telepathic link. "Many are fleeing," Nova's thoughts echoed in Sarah's mind. "But many more are trapped, unable to escape the Council's grasp." Sarah placed a comforting hand on Nova's shoulder. "We'll stop them," she said firmly, "no matter what it takes." Just then, Lieutenant Raj Patel burst onto the bridge, his face flushed with excitement. "Captain, we've made contact." Sarah's heart raced. "With whom?" "Another refugee group." Raj shook his head, grinning. "No, ma'am. Well, you'd better see for yourself." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that made Sarah's jaw drop. A massive space station hung against the backdrop of an alien star system, its design unlike anything humans had ever constructed. And surrounding it were hundreds, no, thousands, of ships of various designs and sizes. A new face appeared on the screen, a being with 4 arms and iridescent scales. When it spoke, its voice was translated through the ship's computer. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said. "We are the Resistance. We've been fighting the Galactic Council for generations, and we've heard of your defiance. We come to offer an alliance and hope." Sarah felt a surge of emotion, relief, excitement, and a renewed determination. She straightened her uniform and stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth and all free beings," she said, her voice steady, "we accept your offer. Together, we'll bring down the Council and free the galaxy." As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. Their faces mirrored her own feelings. They all knew that this was a turning point. The odds were still stacked against them, but they were no longer alone in the fight. "All right, people," Sarah said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "Let's show our new allies what humanity can do. Prep for docking. We've got a war to plan." The Horizon's engines hummed to life, carrying humanity's hopes towards a rendezvous with destiny. The real battle was about to begin. The combined fleet of human and alien resistance ships hung in the inky blackness of space, a deadly armada poised on the edge of history. At its heart, the Horizon floated alongside the massive Resistance flagship, its hull gleaming with newly installed weaponry. On the Horizon's bridge, Captain Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display of their target, a sprawling Galactic Council military base on a distant moon. Its surface bristled with defense turrets and sensor arrays, while heavily armed patrol ships circled overhead. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Our first major strike against the Council. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we show them that the days of their unchallenged rule are over." Nova, the alien child who had become an integral part of the crew, sent waves of determination through its telepathic link. "Many of my people are held there," Nova's thoughts echoed. "We must free them." Sarah nodded grimly. "And we will. All ships, battle stations. Prepare to jump on my mark." Across the fleet, crews scrambled to their positions. In the Horizon's engine room, Chief Engineer Zara Okonkwo made last-minute adjustments to their experimental stealth drive. "Come on, baby," she muttered, patting the humming machinery. "Don't let us down now." In the fighter bay, Squadron Leader Miguel Cortez climbed into his sleek new X-2 Starhawk, its adaptive camouflage shimmering as it adjusted to the surrounding light. "Raptors, check in," he called over the comm. One by one, his pilots reported ready. Sarah took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the command console. "All ships, jump." In a dazzling display of light, the fleet vanished, only to reappear moments later in orbit around the Council's fortified moon. For a split second, there was silence as the Council's forces registered the sudden appearance of hundreds of ships. Then all hell broke loose. "Fire at will," Sarah shouted. The Horizon's newly upgraded weapons came to life, lancing out with pinpoint accuracy to take down the moon's orbital defenses. Miguel's fighter squadron streaked towards the surface, weaving through a hail of enemy fire. "Raptors, form up," he called. "We've got installations to flatten." On the moon's surface, alarms blared as Council troops scrambled to their stations. But they were caught off guard, their decades of unchallenged supremacy leaving them ill-prepared for such a bold assault. The Resistance flagship unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, carving huge craters in the moon's surface and obliterating key military structures. Smaller ships darted between the chaos, targeting communication arrays and power generators. In the midst of the battle, a group of specially trained commandos, led by the grizzled veteran Colonel Martinez, touched down near the main prison complex. "Move fast, hit hard," Martinez growled as they charged forward, breaching the facility's defenses with practiced efficiency. Inside, they found rows upon rows of holding cells, each filled with captives from dozens of alien species. Martinez's team worked quickly, disabling security systems and throwing open cell doors. "Come on, people," Martinez shouted to the bewildered prisoners. "Freedom Express is leaving the station." Back in space, the battle raged on. The Council's forces, though initially stunned, began to rally. Reinforcements poured in from nearby systems, filling the sky with fresh waves of enemy ships. "We've got company," Raj called out from his tactical station. "A lot of company." Sarah gritted her teeth. "Hold the line. We're not leaving until every last prisoner is evacuated." The horizon shuddered as it took a direct hit, its shields flaring. Shields at 60% and dropping. Zara reported from engineering, her voice tense. For a moment, it seemed like the tide might turn against them. But then, a new voice crackled over the comms. The leader of the resistance. "Humans of Earth," the alien commander said, "your courage has inspired us all. Witness now the true strength of a united galaxy." Suddenly, the stars themselves seemed to blink as hundreds of new ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Species that had long hidden from the Council's tyranny now joined the fray, their weapons blazing. With this new influx of allies, the battle swiftly turned. Council ships were destroyed or forced into retreat, while the moon base below crumbled under the relentless assault. As the last transport ship full of freed prisoners docked with the horizon, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "All ships, prepare for jump. Let's go home." In a flash of light, the victorious fleet vanished, leaving behind a shattered Council base and a galaxy forever changed. The first battle was won, but Sarah knew the war was far from over. As the horizon sped towards friendly space, Nova approached Sarah, its eyes shining with a mix of gratitude and hope. "Thank you," the child's thoughts whispered. "For the first time in so long, I believe we can win." Sarah nodded, her resolve stronger than ever. "We can," she said, "and we will." The journey home began, but for humanity and their new allies, this was just the beginning. Months had passed since the first strike against the Galactic Council, and the conflict had spread across the stars like wildfire. What began as a desperate act of defiance by humanity had grown into a full-scale galactic rebellion. The horizon, now battle-scared but still proudly flying, emerged from a swirling wormhole into a system deep in contested space. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her once pristine uniform now worn and patched. Dark circles under her eyes spoke of countless sleepless nights, but her gaze remained as sharp and determined as ever. "Status report," she called out, scanning the tactical displays. Lieutenant Raj Patel, his normally cheerful face grim, responded quickly. 3 Council warships detected on the far side of the planet. Captain, they haven't spotted us yet." Sarah nodded. "Good. Let's keep it that way. Zara, how's our stealth system holding up?" Chief Engineer Zara Okonkwo's voice crackled over the comm. "Holding steady at 89% efficiency, Captain. But we can't push it much longer without a full overhaul." "It'll have to do," Sarah muttered. She turned to Nova, who now stood tall and confident beside her. "What are you sensing?" Nova's telepathic voice echoed in Sarah's mind, tinged with a mix of sorrow and hope. "Many minds below. Frightened, but there's a spark of resistance growing. They've heard of our victories." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Their string of successes against the Council had indeed been spreading hope across the galaxy, but the cost had been high. She thought back to the battles they'd fought over the past months. The liberation of the Centauri colonies, where they'd lost a quarter of their fleet but freed millions. The daring raid on the Council's main shipyards in the Orient sector, crippling their production capabilities. And the devastating counterattack that followed, nearly wiping out Earth's orbital defenses. A beep from the communication console snapped Sarah out of her reverie. "Captain," Raj called out, Incoming transmission from Earth Command. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the weary face of Admiral Koda, the head of Earth's defense forces. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice grave. "I'm afraid I have troubling news." Sarah's heart sank. "What is it?" "Admiral, our deep space probes have detected a massive Council fleet gathering in the Sagittarius Arm. Intelligence suggests they're planning a final, all-out assault on Earth and our major allies. We're calling all available ships back for a last stand." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Sarah could feel the weight of countless lives pressing down on her shoulders. But then she felt a gentle touch on her arm. It was Nova, its eyes shining with determination. "We will not falter." Nova's thoughts rang out, clear and strong. "Not after coming so far." Sarah straightened, drawing strength from the alien child's resolve. "Admiral," she said, her voice steady, "request permission to maintain our current mission. If we can spark a full-scale uprising in this sector, we can divide the Council's forces." Admiral Koda looked surprised, then thoughtful. "It's risky, Chen, but it might just work." "Permission granted. Good hunting." As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, but also unwavering loyalty and determination. "You all heard the situation," she said. "I won't lie. The odds are stacked against us. But that's nothing new, is it?" A ripple of grim laughter spread through the bridge. "We've come too far to give up now," Sarah continued, her voice rising. "Every world we free, every ally we gain, brings us one step closer to victory. The Council thought they could crush us, enslave us. But they made one critical mistake." She paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "They underestimated humanity's spirit, and the spirit of every free being in this galaxy. So let's show them exactly what that spirit can do." A cheer went up from the crew, echoed by a wave of fierce determination from Nova. "Helm, set course for the planet," Sarah ordered. "Tactical, ready all weapons. Comms, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. It's time to light the fire of rebellion in this system." As the horizon moved into position, Sarah felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. The coming battle would be desperate, perhaps even hopeless. But as she looked around at her crew, human and alien alike, united in their fight for freedom, she knew that win or lose, they would face it together. The final phase of the Galactic War was about to begin, and humanity was ready to make its stand. The battle for Earth's solar system raged with an intensity never before seen in the galaxy's long history. The sky above the blue planet burned with the fiery explosions of countless ships, both friend and foe. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the horizon, her hands gripping the command console so tightly her knuckles had turned white. The ship shuddered under another impact, shields flaring. "Shields at 30%. Zara's voice crackled over the comm. "We can't take much more of this, Captain." Sarah gritted her teeth. "Hold it together. We just need to buy more time for—" Her words were cut off as a blinding flash of light filled the view screen. For a heart-stopping moment, Sarah feared the worst. But as the glare faded, she saw it wasn't Earth that had been hit. The massive Galactic Council flagship, a behemoth that had seemed invincible, was breaking apart. Cheers erupted across the bridge. "We did it," Rad shouted. "The combined strike team got through." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The daring plan. A joint operation of human special forces and alien resistance fighters had worked. They had infiltrated the Council's command ship and taken control. Nova, standing tall beside Sarah, sent a wave of jubilation through its telepathic link. "It's over," the alien child's thoughts rang out. "The Council's power is broken." As the remains of the Council fleet began to scatter or surrender, the reality of their victory began to sink in. Humanity, along with its alien allies, had won against seemingly impossible odds. In the days that followed, representatives from every free world gathered on Earth to discuss the future. The Grand Hall of the United Nations in New York, once a symbol of human unity, now played host to beings from across the galaxy. Sarah, now Admiral Chen, stood at the podium, facing the assembled delegates. Nova stood beside her, acting as both translator and ambassador. "We stand here today," Sarah began, her voice carrying across the hushed room, "not just as victors in a war, but as architects of a new future. The Galactic Council's reign of tyranny is over. But the question before us now is, what will we build in its place?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd as each species considered the implications. "We propose," Sarah continued, "the formation of a new galactic federation. Not built on domination and fear like the old council, but on mutual respect, cooperation, and the fundamental right of all sentient beings to live free." Nova's telepathic voice echoed Sarah's words in the minds of all present, conveying not just the meaning but the emotion behind them. "This federation," Sarah said, her voice growing stronger, "will not dictate from above, but will serve as a forum for peaceful resolution of conflicts, a platform for sharing knowledge and resources, and a united front against any future threats to our shared liberty." The hall erupted in applause and various alien equivalents, tentacles waving, bioluminescent patterns flashing in approval. Over the next weeks, the framework for the new Galactic Federation took shape. It wasn't always easy. Centuries of mistrust and conflict couldn't be erased overnight. But the shared experience of fighting against the Council had forged bonds that transcended old grievances. As the final charter was signed, Sarah stood with Nova on a balcony overlooking the New York skyline. The city gleamed in the sunset, its familiar silhouette now adorned with alien architecture, a visual representation of Earth's new role in a larger galactic community. "We've come so far," Sarah mused, thinking back to that fateful day when they'd found a wounded alien child on a distant world. Nova, now nearly fully grown, sent a wave of warm agreement. "And we have so much further to go," its thoughts echoed. "But we'll go together." Sarah nodded, a sense of pride and hope filling her chest. Humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, but had emerged as a beacon of freedom for the entire galaxy. As night fell and the stars began to twinkle overhead, Sarah knew that each point of light represented not just distant suns, but new friends, new adventures, and new possibilities. The age of isolation was over. Humanity's next great journey was just beginning. And whatever challenges the vast universe might hold, they would face them united, a tapestry of diverse species bound together by the unbreakable threads of freedom, compassion, and hope. The future, at last, looked bright.